Maharaj ki. Oh ne, es geht hier immer so, ist glaube ich ganz easy. Okay. Hast du vielleicht ein Taschentuch oder so? Oh, I have a little cold. Yeah, great. Thank you. Okay. So, we're reading from the Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 4, Chapter 1, Verse 60. And we start with the mantra for glorifying Vasudeva. And please repeat. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So, then we do the Sanskrit. Maninas Jagner. Swaha Abhimaninas Jagner. Atmajanistrin Ajananat. Pavakam Pavamanam Cha. Suchim Cha Huta Bhojanam. Swaha Abhimaninas Cha Agner. Atmajanistrin Ajanat. Pavakam Pavamanam Cha. Suchim Cha Huta Bhojanam. Okay, please repeat. Anybody? Man, woman? Shagya. Atmanam. Sarijana. Okay, then we do word for word. But how we do? This is the German one. Should I speak in German? Because so many. Huh? Ihr habt's noch Deutsch. Okay. Okay, then I'll try in English. Huh? But it's very difficult. No. No. Hmm? You having English? Yeah, sorry. It will be difficult in German, for all of you. In the library, you don't have English? I thought you always had English. Yeah. Interesting. What? To the barn. Okay, so then I will do word for word here. So Swaha, Swaha, the wife of Agni. Abhimaninaha, the presiding deity of fire. Cha, and Agnihi, from Agni. Atmagyan, sons. Trin, three. Ajinanat, produced. Pavakam, pavaka. Pavamanam cha, and pavamana. Suchim cha, and suchi. Huta bhojanam, eating the oblations of fire. So, translation, Srila Prabhupada. The predominating deity of fire begot in his wife Swaha 3 children named Pavaka, Pavamana, and Suchi, who exist by eating the oblations offered to the fire of sacrifice. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. After describing the descendants of the 13 wives of Dharma, who were all daughters of Daksha, Maitreya now describes the 14th daughter of Daksha, Swaha, and he had 3 sons. Oblations offered in the sacrificial fire are meant for the demigods, or for the demigods, and on behalf of the demigods, the 3 sons of Agni and Swaha, namely Pavaka, Pavamana, and Suchi, accept the oblations. Swaha abhimani nascha agneya atmajam tri ajitanat pavakam pavamanam cha suchim cha huta bhojanam. So, one more time the verse. The predominating deity of fire begot in his wife Swaha 3 children named Pavaka, Pavamana, and Suchi, who exist by eating the oblations offered to the fire of sacrifice. So, Magyana Timirandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Shakshu Unmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. So, that is the verse which is very interesting for myself, because I've studied the fire rituals for many years, and it's one of my very favorite interest in devotional service, doing fire rituals. So the 4th canto itself describes the daughters of Manu, and the 14th is Swahadevi. Swahadevi is, as we do when in the sacrifice, we do always one mantra, Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya, and then Swaha. Because we do the offerings first to the female energy of the fire, which, takes it. It's like the Vedic concept is always that the Prakriti, or the female energy, is the first to receive anything. So therefore, when you meet in a house, the wife will meet you first. When you do a mantra, or when you approach a deva, you always say Shri in the beginning, because that's always, the female energy of that devata. So the worship in ancient times in Vedic culture is always the glorification of woman, or the glorification of the female energy. And here in the verse it describes how the sons, Pavaka, Pavamana, and Suchi, has been also the receiver to the wife. So in fire rituals, ancient times, were the Yuga Dharma. Nowadays, we are living in the Kali Yuga, and we see still in many temples in India, especially in South India, they have their daily, even daily, Nitya Homa, their daily rituals on fire, which is part of the deity worship. And they're very, very expert in reciting mantras and very expert in doing the rituals. And the whole concept is all very scientific because, Vedas are, as the name it says, is knowledge. It is not any human-made, even human-made sound. Because once upon a time, the sound appeared to create this universe, and from this sound, everything emanates. So the Vedas are very, powerful, most powerful. And to recite and to understand is a great, great task, and it's very difficult to do. So therefore, in Kali Yuga, we don't have even the time to study all the Vedas, but to speak about learning them, reciting them. But it's still great if somebody who is expert in it, who can do that. But for the common man, it's very difficult to do. And as we also can see, and with this knowledge, if you don't stay under a good teacher, you will become very proud of your knowledge. That is also one very big obstacle in life, when one starts to be becoming proud. The Vedas itself has the power with the sound to elevate the soul, to get free from the samsara. And that is promised in all sampradayas, in all traditions. When you study Vedas, you will understand Omkara, the sound of Om. It's the beginning of the Vedas, and from this you can make out if the tradition is very authorized or not. So Omkara, it's very much worshipped, and in even some traditions not given to ladies and Shudras. Shri Shri Prahlad Lakshmi Narasimha Bhagavan Ki Jai. Very much shining today. He has also the color of red, of sun, glowing. So the Lord is the embodiment of all Vedas, and if you worship Him, you will receive all the knowledge from the Vedas. He is the embodiment of sound, He is the embodiment of knowledge, of balam, of power, of shakti, of energy. All the 6 opulences what you find in God, Lord Narasimha's embodiment. And fire rituals in general are used for purification and are used for maintenance, the purity in the house, like as we know, Pavamana Suktam. Here it's mentioned, one of the son of Swaha Devi and Agni is recited to bring good fortune, to clean, if there's any, let's say if there's a death in a family, after some time you have to do Pavamani Sukta Homa to purify the house, and you become Suchi, you become pure again. And so there are many rules and regulations in the Vedas which makes it the life in this modern time very complicated. Or you could say very difficult, because the items are not anymore easy to obtain. Like Vedic rituals involve a lot of items, a lot of constant recitation of mantras. People are nowadays very, very difficult to do that. I myself can be, I'm the proof of it, because I tried more than 30 years with that, and I have not obtained anything. So therefore, it is very difficult. So in Kali Yuga, it is said that after some time, Krishna could realize that these mantras of the Vedas, who are called Veda Bhasha, in the language of Veda, and therefore it's very difficult for the common people to understand the sutras, the written shlokas inside the Vedas, to obtain liberation, to obtain the highest goal in life, moksha. You know, there are four things in life one has to go through, and the last one is moksha. So for that, the Vedas are there, and therefore the goal suddenly disappeared. So therefore also the interest on Vedas disappeared, and people became Buddhist, people became Jains. They totally rejected. They're called Nastikas. They don't follow any Vedic Sanatana Dharma concept. They have some, you could say, they are the younger sons of Sanatana Dharma. But, you know, son sometimes doesn't want to follow the path of the father, so they went astray a little bit. So they took some of the things from the Vedas, very like ahimsa, which is also one basic rule, and took it to the extreme, like the Jainism, who are not even eating grains or not eating roots from the ground because it may involve some violence. But we understand that violence, it's very difficult to avoid in this world. Even as a vegetarian, as a vegan, the concept of violence cannot be eradicated totally. So the Jains took it to the extreme. Anyhow, so then in Kali Yuga, there were different acharyas who took the Vedas to explain it in a way that you can understand them and take to a practice which is easier. And that's called the Pancharatra system. And later on, it's even the Vaishnava Tantra, which has developed from the Pancharatra worship. And people are getting these samskaras, which are mentioned in the Vedas, to purify, to get elevated, to become, the topmost human being. Topmost means not like a superstar, but like from inside, shining from inside, having the best qualities in life, being a good person. This is the goal of human life. And so in the Pancharatra system, the samskaras are also there for the families, for the kids to grow, to learn, to understand God in the proper way. And the rituals are also very minimized, you could say. Even it looks for a newcomer, looks quite complicated still. Oh, you have not to touch this, and you have to walk on this way, and eat with that hand only, and this and that. But that's all abhigamanas. You could say that's all things which you learn before you really enter into the concept of living Vedic lifestyle. They are not totally, they're not a must. They don't need to be there. They are just supportive. But it means that when you go on tour, traveling, and you cannot take a shower, it's not that you don't know to worship God, but you have to know a certain way where you still can be in the train and do it internally. And the bathing even you can do internally. There are certain ways you learn in these abhigamanas and these concepts. In ancient times, people were not traveling so much. They were staying. Even in, there's 4 months called Chaturmasya. The Vedic people would not go for traveling. Especially in India, where there's rainy season, they will stay on one place and maintain their rituals very purely. And then after this, they will reopen and do. But in modern time, we are so, universal. We flying in 2 days into 4 countries, and so that will be not very applicable for people who still want to take the path back to Godhead. So therefore, they are in the Pancharatra system, which you can learn how to still worship internally, how you still can maintain your purity, So that is called Pancharatra system. And there are also fire rituals. Like yesterday we had a little fire ritual. It was not very complicated. We could even take it out and stay it outside after we finished it. In Vedic times, you had to build a whole yagashala with a very complicated homa kunda of the shape of a bird, and it has certain sizes, and all the numbers are given in the Vedas, and only few people nowadays do that rituals anymore because they're all extinct, you could say. Vedas, even the recitation of Vedas, certain sections are not there anymore. They are gone. They are lost. And Indian professors who study Indian mythology, Indian philosophy, they all think this is a myth because they don't follow the Pancharatra system. They don't understand that there is actually a way how to receive all these things which are in Vedas, but still can live a lifestyle which is very conducive. Like chanting the name of the holy name of Krishna is given by Lord Chaitanya in the 500 years ago, and it made it very easy for us to recite the Vedic mantra, but without rules and regulations, in one way. Of course, there are 10 offenses, but these are just to protect your sadhana. They are not there for make the mantra impure. Where the Vedic recitations, there have certain rules. Of course, in the Vedas, they are called Vedangas, 6 angas, 6 limbs to learn before you study Vedas. And so that makes the recitation of Vedas very difficult. Like the grammar, the proper pronunciation, the Jyotish, which is giving the light to understand and use those mantras in a proper way. So there are like certain sections which you have to learn before you recite Vedas. But chanting Mahamantra, you learn from one teacher, and he says, chant always, never forget. And it's very easy. Yeah, it's very easy for us, even for people like from the West. So therefore Prabhupada understood there's a certain time the door opened and he could go and travel to the West. And he had such a faith that these mantras, this holy mantra, which is Krishna himself, will reach in every corner and every village, because there is a prediction of his Param Guru who said that there will be, everywhere the mantra recited, and that will come very soon. Maybe not in the time of the Param Guru, and they tried, in the 1930s there were some, pioneers from India who went to the West, to Germany first actually. They had some contacts with some professors here in the Sanskrit University. And they went, and finally they had some given courses even in Berlin. They met even Goebbels. But time was not ready. Then after some time, they had to leave. They had to run away from those countries. The Second World War started. And with this, the time had passed for another 40 years. And then another door opened. And Prabhupada was, and not enhanced, but empowered. He was empowered to be getting the conviction by Krishna himself. As an old man, nobody in India would do. Yeah? Once you take sannyas, you stay in one place. There are certain stages in sannyas, but one is kshetra sannyas, which you are not leaving the place. You have to stay there. You don't go anywhere. Especially Vrindavan. You go to Vrindavan, holy Dham, as an old man, you don't want to leave. You want to stay there and do your last few years, bhajan, finished. But Prabhupada, he got that power by Krishna, saying, let's go to the West. And everything was arranged, and he came, and all of us have such a we got such a benefit for it. Sometimes I really feel indebted to him that he has given us in a way that we can learn and become devotees. Once you dip into this devotional service, it will never leave you. You're just like, you're getting it, and you can go somewhere, but somehow you will come back to that point. There's no loss in spiritual way. Nothing will be loose. Nothing will be lost, so to say. It may be stopped for some time, but you always will see you can pick it up again. And this is the great benefit of Prabhupada. And okay, so short verse, short commentary by Prabhupada, but such a huge subject. Vedas is such a huge subject. And people start to study these Vedas, and they come mad. They don't understand. They think this is all a myth. This is no, because the language itself, it's so difficult to understand. The sutras in the Vedas are so difficult. And you have to understand that the Pancharatra system and the tradition of Vaishnavism has made it so easy for us to learn that path of devotion, the path of surrender. It is the perfect path in Kali Yuga. There's no other better path than this, and it will be the quickest way. There's even a promise by Ranganath to Ramanuja that once the life is over, you have got into devotion, you will receive moksha for sure. You will receive going back to Godhead for sure. So I beg you all, study well, go for the devotional service. And that's also, actually that's the key. One thing is the Maha Mantra, the other thing is the devotional service, the attitude to service. That will save you. People are always thinking, how I will stay in devotional service, how I will stay with the devotees, I like it very much, but who knows what. Yeah. One thing is service attitude. It's not that you burn yourself out in 24 days when you stay in the temple. You have to see where you're standing, what is your capacity. Don't go over your capacity. But on the other hand, be always open for a change of service. Always ready to serve. But not like, running around, can I help you, can I help you, can I help you? This is madness. You should take your energy in a proper way to use it. Because Krishna, someday or other, he will send you. Please come, do this, do that. And then you can continue. And that will be a safeguard. It will be bringing you to devotional service always, wherever you live. If you live in Australia or you live in Timbuktu or any other part of this world, Krishna will come and catch you. Because once you got it, he will never let you down. Okay. Any questions? Questions always good to enhance. Thank you. Yeah.
Talking about the Kali Yuga, the darkened age that we are now, because I've been living in a Tibetan Buddhist monastery, and they talk about Kala Chakra. In the tradition of the Kala Chakra, there is also astrology. And there, that for the change of the Kali Yuga to the Satya Yuga, the Golden Age, will be around 2424, 400 years from now. Now, the interesting thing I found out by myself is that the Western astrology, when we talk about the transition of the Piscean age and the Aquarian age is supposed to be also the Golden Age, age of Aquarius, will be 2384, which is only 40 years gap between the Western astrology and the... when it goes with the Hare Krishna tradition, you talk about, I think, 100,000 years for the transition. So what is your explanation behind all that? Thank you.
Thank you. Jyotish, or astrology, astronomy, is a very vast and very complicated system. And each system has developed their own knowledge, study, exploring those things. Because also they are written in coded forms, like Parasharahora, which is a scripture on astrology, Jyotish, written by the father of Vyasadeva, Parashara Muni. It's a very complex system to calculate. And one of our great acharya called Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur has given a commentary on Surya Siddhanta, which is also a very complicated astronomy book written, I don't know, who knows, but very old, very ancient, 300 years before Christ. It's a very, very old book. And nowadays people calculate those panchangams on these calculations. There are two systems, Vishuddha Santi and Surya Siddhanta. These two systems will give the panchangam. Panchangam is a calculation calendar for giving the proper time of the stars up and how they're powerful or not powerful, or they give blessings or not blessings. And finally, Jyotish needs to be studied for 12 years to understand even a little pinch of it. What to speak about predictions. There's a book called Bhavishya Purana, which gives future evidence, where they're describing avatars, describing the future generations, the kings, what happens, and people like even Nostradamus, who's a Western astrologer, and he's doing prediction, had tried to study those Vedic texts. But it's very, very difficult to see the future. What will the future bring? And what the future will has on us. We don't know even few minutes in front of us what to speak about, like the next 50 or 100 years from time now. And some predictions may be totally wrong, or some predictions may have some essence of it, and some predictions may totally true. So from our standpoint, it is very difficult to see what is right or what is wrong. Therefore, we have a system by a teacher from where we go and learn from, and he will give us the proper guidance from where we can perform our devotional service. So therefore, as I said, for a true bhakta to get into the future predictions and things for life, it may contradict to our devotional service. It may do an obstacle for our devotional service. And getting into predictions and forecast future things may very much be confusing. And even our teachers, again, has given very elaborate system to study, but you have to have a good teacher for learning this. So therefore, as you say, Buddhists have their system. And even into our Vaishnava culture, we have different systems which we follow to predict anything in future. But nobody could predict COVID, nobody could predict the war in Ukraine. So it is very difficult to say, Jai Shri Shri Prahlad Lakshmi Narasimha, to say anything on future issues. And also the change of calendar, particular, when Kali Yuga and Satya Yuga starts and ends, we go with a traditional database, because in the 5th canto of the Bhagavatam, they are giving some hint when Kali Yuga started, and also in the 12th canto of the Bhagavatam, there's a hint of when Kali Yuga started. So from that calculation, we will take the time. We have also, as I said, in different Vaishnava systems, they're giving different avatar timings, what to speak about future predictions. So it's very difficult. Again, it's very difficult. If you're interested, you get the Bhavishya Purana, study it, and you can maybe comprehend those things with the Kala Chakra from the Buddhist or from other systems. As again, Buddhist also has their system, and Western astrology is actually one can say stolen, but it's taken partially from the Jyotish to calculate the sun. It is not the fully Jyotish which is given in the Vedas. Vedas are Nakshatra Jyotish, means the stars, and it will be calculated with the moon. So there's difference in system of calculations, and there might be coming to different conclusions also. Hope that helped a little bit. Yeah.
When it goes, I study Nostradamus also. L'an 1999, 7 mois du ciel viendra. Yeah, okay. When it goes for Nostradamus, the last prophecy was actually the year 1999. And beside that, after that was not because of human events, but geological catastrophe in 2300 something, or 2400 even. So we can put now Nostradamus a little bit on the side, even if I have a lot of respect for him, because as I repeat now, the last prophecy basically for human events, it was 1999. And it was that one actually did not happen. One of the rare prophecies make did not happen. But anyway, yeah, for the, so I stick on what said the Tibetan philosophy with the Kala Chakra and the Western astrology, because the two dates they give, they have no connection. It's a totally different approach, but they reach almost the same date. It's 40 years only between 2384 and 2424. So I think there is some value that we may take in consideration.
Okay. Just one last sentence on this just comes to my mind. It's that when you dig many wells, you want to fetch water, okay? You dig many wells. That same energy you dig for one well, you will reach for sure water. But if you dig so many wells and you just go half a meter and then go next half a meter, with that energy you dig in one well, you will accomplish water for sure someday. So similar with the systems, Vedic systems or whatever system you follow, you study it in one system and learn from a proper teacher one system, you will reach definitely to water. I don't know with Jyotish, because Jyotish is the highest knowledge or the highest field of study in this world, because it's very, very complex. And each system has their own acharya, their own way of seeing the light, because Jyotish means explaining the light, how to see. It's connected to the eyes. The symbol of eyes is connected where Kalpa, for instance, one of the 6 Vedangas, is the feet, you walking. With the rituals, Kalpa means rituals, Vedic rituals, you start to walk as a human towards God. So with the eyes, you will start to see God. So this is very difficult to understand Jyotish in a way to do many systems in the same time. And do prediction even is even more difficult. So it is better you stick to one system, and particular for us is important to be study the devotional path, because whatever happens in this world may happen. We cannot change it in a bigger scale, but we can change ourselves. We can come inside, pure. We become inside very thoughtful. We become very devotional, and with this we change our path to destiny also. So therefore, it is better to invest into your own study, into your own development of yourself, than study future things. Maybe you're not alive in 40 years, or to speak about what will happen in this time. So it is better to do the path of devotion internally and get enhanced, and then by Krishna's blessing, by God's blessing, you may see the future in a proper way. You may find a teacher who will give you proper understanding of Jyotish, and from who you can learn and study the future. Okay? Yeah. Hare Krishna.
You mentioned, Hare Krishna, you mentioned in the beginning of Yagyas, first we addressed the female energy. I got a little perplexed by this because the female energy is both auspicious, but it can also be binding. Like Durga Devi is the keeper of the prison house of this material world. Also, Maya Devi puts us into illusion and tempts us to go away from Krishna, first of all. So, can you elaborate on this duplexity?
You have to learn to get out from the jail. You have to understand who's the jailkeeper. Learning from the jailkeeper, get the key and understand how to open it and get out of it. It's the best thing you can do. And of course, female energy, you cannot escape it. I mean, this is, it's binding every person. It is not just men and binding women or these back and forth. No, this has a very complicated system. And finally, on tradition, it may be different to see female energy. Like some people say, oh, she is totally independent of God. She gives moksha, she can give liberation. Some people will say, no, she's just granting, she's going to the Lord and explaining where to go for the jiva. And, these things may be in difference. But to worship all female energy, I mean, Gaudiya Vaishnavas are one of the top, you could say. They are Shakta Vaishnavas, is another way. I mean, they worship the female energy as Radharani and all his, group. So you don't do anything wrong with worshiping female energy. And even to glorify and have a lot of appreciation for Durga Devi and her assistants, it's a very, like we do on Navaratri, we do worship. We worship in the name of her. We worship different forms of Vishnu. So therefore, there's no problem in doing this. Yeah.
Krishna.
Yeah.
Prabhuji, I have a question. In our daily life, due to some problem or some failures, we get disappointed and demotivated. And we keep moving in the same mode, in depressive mode for a long time. How to get motivated by self and move forward?
Yeah, there's 3 ways you can do. One very famous one is sadhu sangha. You have company with friends who are more elevated than yourself. Make friendship with people. Even in Bhagavatam says, in the 2nd canto, that even 1 minute with a sadhu, it's worth than 100 years of living an ordinary life. So you have company with an elevated person, you will feel so much inspiration, and from this you get out of a depressed mood. It's one way. Another way, it's you getting a book which you are very much interested, which has spiritual subjects. That can be an inspiration. Or do a pilgrimage to a temple and get enhanced. Having darshan of a deity will also get out of your depressive mood. And there are many things, but these 3 are very essential. Like, but you can just clean food is one thing. But if you get hung up with this clean food thing, then it may be again a way of depressive, because you will not find any really clean food in this world. So to do offering to the Lord is then another thing. But so company with a sadhu is one very powerful tool. Yeah, and going to a holy place, to pilgrimage is another. Meeting with elevated person and going to a holy place, I would say that's powerful. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I think 10 years ago or something like that, I had kind of depression. So when I went to doctor, so he says I have to change my thoughts. Rather than eating medication. Now, a lot of people here in the West, they have depression, they are eating medication, and they're getting addicted to drugs. So when I came back, I was thinking how to change my thoughts. So I took up a book called Srimad Ramanujacharya. I started to read this book from beginning to the end, and all of a sudden, after I finished the book, I didn't have any depression anymore. So the conclusion of depression, I mean, you can conclude your depression by reading Vedic literatures. Get connected to our great acharyas. Definitely, all the depression, that is what we've been singing this song, Sri Guru Charana Padma. So he's the ultimate, opener of your eyes. If you get connected to the great acharya, your depression or your difficulties in life, everything will go away.
Yep.
So
good point. Yeah, thank you. Yeah, especially Ramanuja and the stories of the Alvas are so enlivening. You will forget yourself because they are so immersed in the devotional. Amazing. Yeah, it's a good point. Thank you.
Thank you, Prabhu. Thank you for a nice lecture, Amara.
Oh, okay.
My question is if you can recommend any other Vedic scriptures beneath those we should read according to Vaishnavism and enhance our bhakti. Are there scriptures that are recommended in some kind of way from the Vedas? Because I also in the books of Prabhupada, here and there he makes comments to some Vedic literature, but I'm not aware of which could be important to read for some reason, if one is not
Okay.
a specialist in some kind of way to find out something.
And you're asking me this as a brahmachari of Gaudiya Vaishnava tradition, so then I definitely can, say Chaitanya Charitamrita, which is the life of Chaitanya, which, as he would say, the life of Ramanuja was very much inspiring for our devotional concept. So the life of Lord Chaitanya is very inspiring, and it has a lot of spiritual insights in the writings. For us, when we joined, we were reading first Bhagavatam and then the Chaitanya Charitamrita once each, and then we restart to read the Bhagavatam again. But as longer you stay, as longer you study, you will get into things which will naturally come. You will have a very close contact with your teacher. The teacher will tell you what is the best for you to study. And then after this, you will get also the sense for yourself to study. Because after some time, the child grows up and it becomes an adult. So it doesn't ask anymore the father, "Father, can I do this? Father, can I do this?" Still, for some heavy matters, he might go back to the parents and get some explanations. Yeah? But in general, that will, because you have a strong fundament from where you can go and reach out in this world. Of course, you still can make mistakes. We are all prone to mistakes. That's one of the reasons why we call Jiva Nitya Bharas. We are eternally bound to this material existence. But in general, if you follow the principles, in general you follow your sadhana, it will be more difficult after some time to slip away. So you can study on your own interest, so to say. Chaitanya's writings or the Shikshastakam, there are commentaries by different acharyas. You get into the writings of Rupa Goswami, which also have many commentaries by later acharyas. Things like that which fit into the tradition. And then step by step, the only thing you have to be aware of, and this you have to always check with your teacher, how far you can go. Because there in Gaudiya Vaishnavism, there are two paths which go simultaneously. There's the Bhagavad Vidhi and there's the Sadhana Vidhi or Vaidhi Vidhi. And these paths, one will after some time dominate yourself. It will become to a stage where you will enter into into a relationship with God, which can be very spontaneous, can be very devotional, on time like that. Krishna will, even possible, Krishna can come directly or to your teacher. But that stage may be very far away. So I said, you can study commentaries by acharyas of certain sections, like Bhagavatam has many sections of Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, commentary by Narottam, not Narottam, but Srinivas. And there are certain things, Baladev Vidyabhushan has written a lot of things, so there is no end actually for study. The only thing is, you have to check from time to time, are you still on the track, or you're into other things? You can be into other things and then losing. So therefore it's always good to have a teacher who you have trust in and you have a relation to, where he can tell you. It's like it's a journey, huh? It's a journey. Devotional service is a journey, but the journey you yourself have to do. It's not that when you see birds on the sky flying, they all fly and you think this is one body, but actually each bird has his own way of doing it. And when the one bird drops, it drops. So better you stay under the shelter of a teacher, and he can tell you what to study and what not to study on your stage. But in general, later on you will get more interest into deeper things. Deeper thing is a wrong way, but they are very deep, Bhagavatam and CC. But you might be interested into things which enhance your devotional service. Depends. Some people don't study at all, just do japa, chant, recite in Vrindavan. It's all on the mood of your particular bhava, or your connection to God.
So there is no better in studying or not studying? It's not necessary?
You see, Bhagavatam is a commentary on the Vedanta Sutra. You can go direct to the Vedanta Sutra if you have the capacity to understand Vedanta Sutra and see it in the light of the Bhagavatam. But it's very difficult. Again, Baladev Vidyabhushan has given something on that, and it is a big volume. Vedanta Sutra are just sutras, the short comments. Atatu Brahma Kinyasa. Now I will start to know about Brahman. But you may understand Brahman in one way or in another way. So better to have, a good basic thing, and then from there you can start to study. There is a way, but it is individual. It's not, you can say, oh, you should this. Maybe we like to do that system, we always into systems, but it doesn't work individually. You will see, when you have studied properly Bhagavatam and Chaitanya Charitamrita in your tradition, it will give you a hint where to go further.
But is it necessary for one's devotional life and finally return back to Goloka Vrindavan to study? No. Or is it just supportive?
No, it's not. It's not. For the beginners, yeah, it's needed, because it said bhakti without knowledge, it's just fanatism. You become fanatic into certain way, and then no, only Prabhupada said this and this and this. Well, okay, give a proof also. Then you have more knowledge what is proper and what is right and what is wrong. But doesn't mean it has to be for everybody. Some people are very simple. They can chant Maha Mantra and that's it for their life, finished. But again, in general, it's good to have knowledge, to understand proper things, and to understand devotional service in the proper way. Because it is not bhakti if you think, oh, I can take my deity and go on the market and go with him in front of a TV, watch TV and eat chips and popcorn. This is maybe not devotional service. You have to understand the differences, to see it in a proper way, because we are walking a path which has been walked already thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands of years ago by other sadhus and people who have gone back to Godhead. And this is the easiest way. If you're on that platform to have Krishna with you and taking him in front of the TV and get liberated by that may be a special grace, but in general it will not work for everybody.
Thank you.
Okay, anybody else? Now at breakfast.
I would like to add something. Talking about elevated person, in Vrindavan, a place I've been 2 times, there is apparently a sadhu, which is something like 250 years old, and some people, some witnesses, claim to have seen him disintegrate himself to reappear a few kilometers away. Yeah. So, do you have any information about that man? Because he's living in Vrindavan. Yeah.
Yeah, he's one of the famous sadhu. It was Deva Daha Baba or something. I forgot his name. Fully proper name. I have seen his ashram, and the last one, I don't know, maybe they're reincarnated, I don't know. But the last one, supposed to be had lived 200 something years, and he never touched the ground in the last 100 years. So he was living on a higher platform, on a hut. There are mystical yogis, yeah, there are. This is no question. But again, where you reach with that mystic performance? You have to invest so much for your own endeavor to come to that stage and get that siddhi. It's called siddhi. Siddhi means a kind of blessing which make you free of this material bondage, you could say. There are siddhis who, you can be smaller, the smallest, expand yourself, but these also are kind of limited. It describes that, where was that? One Dronacharya, somebody made himself a double person, but then, lifting the arm, his double person also lifting the arm. So it could be not independently. Only Krishna can do that. Krishna is the most holder of all siddhis. And having to come to that stage of siddhi or siddha yoga, it's a very, very difficult and very complicated path. Again, bhakti yoga is much, much easier. Bhakti yoga, you could say, Sharanagati is much, much more easy. And it will clean your anarthas, your obstacles, much, much faster. And again, sadhus have different categories, and some do yoga in caves in Devaprayag or in somewhere in the Himalayas. And there are some other yogis, you could say, that perform devotional service. Well, yoga means, to connect, to reconnect, to emerge into the self. So there are many ways to see these things. But the main point is you worship God, and you get the blessing from God. A siddha will not get any siddhi if he is he gets it from the Lord himself. His siddha it's not on his own, so to say. There's a kripa, we say mercy. After some years, it's written everywhere in Bhagavatam and all the Puranas. Even Hiranyakashipu, one great demon, he did after many, 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 many lifetimes, doing a lot of sadhana, a lot of tapasya, a lot of, ensago, austerity. And then he worshipped Brahma, so, kind of connection. Brahma is an amsa of Vishnu. Then he got the blessings to be the most powerful person. Yeah, he could stay on one leg for many, 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 many years. So like that. But again, the devotional path is the most easiest. And you will see when you follow it, you do japa, and you can maintain it in a way that it doesn't need to go. You need to go in the cave and lock yourself and lock your eight centers of your cave, of your own body. This is what the yogis do. They lock, do like a turtle. They bring in all the limbs and stay inside, within. And within, with who they stay with Antayami, with the super soul. So therefore, so it's a very difficult path. more difficult than Jyotish, more difficult than astrology and predicting into the future. I'm not minimizing, but I just compare. There is a Murti in South India called Chintamani Narasimha. He is a two-hand Narasimha, and he's holding a grain in his hand, like that, holding like that, and he's just two-hand and sits like that. And the grain is compared to all other paths of liberation than to devotion to him. So the devotion to him is the biggest. It can be most reached. He has a hand like that, showing to his feet, showing if you surrender to my feet, all the other paths of yoga and traditions, and yoga doesn't mean just asana, just compared. It will be like a small grain. Nothing will be compared to devotional service. This is what, given all the revealed scriptures, there are still some unrevealed one, but it's difficult to decode them. Anyway, this is not the subject of the class, but just make the point that it's very difficult for us to go into Siddha Yoga. Okay, thank you.
Can I conclude this? The most important siddhis which he wants to know. Prabhuji is very much interested in prediction and siddhis and stuff like that. The most important thing is to go back to Godhead. That is the most important siddhi. We should try to learn why we are born here. We are already suffering a lot. The most important, best siddhis will be going back to Godhead. So apart from that, nothing much greater siddhi which you can do. If you want to perform some siddhi, the greater siddhi, Prabhupada has already shown us. An old man, almost dying, went to West. In a very short period of time, without sleeping, he wrote hundreds of books, it's there. And then he preached to the whole world. Now you can see we are all sitting because of his mercy. That is the greatest siddhis which we all can learn. And if we can preach vigorously like Srila Prabhupada, many souls will go back to home, where they came from. That is the greatest siddhis and greatest prediction which mankind can do. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Good. Yeah. End word. No more comments. Finished.
Hare Krishna.
Breakfast. Hare Krishna. Srimad Bhagavatam Grantaraj ki jai. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Hare Krishna.